Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I'm your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. The Lakers come out guns blazing, 3-0 to start the season, and the vibes are very high. Raj, before we get into all the different ways that the Lakers have won these games,
Yeah.
Minnesota, great execution. The Suns, a 22-point comeback. Sacramento, a 14-point lead that we blow, and then LeBron goes crazy in the third quarter. So many different things that happen. So many new themes that are coming up in JJ's audience. But before we get into that, Raj, how are the vibes for you when it comes to this Lakers start?
It's funny because Los Angeles and California, and we're split. Of course, there's Northern California, Southern California, and Southern California isn't a like nationality. Vinay, it's not an
Yes.
ethnicity. But I felt very like Angelino this weekend. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I felt very much in Angelino. Supporting the Dodgers, obviously with the Lakers winning how they are, it just feels like a great weekend to be from LA, right?
Yeah.
Like it just seems like, and it's so funny seeing people from Northern California pissed off, and it's just like this is no, this has been a really cool. Even the Clippers, who we don't throw into this conversation, but they went 2-0, which whatever, we don't support that organization, but just funny, like just watching just being an Angelino this weekend has been great. The vibes are great everywhere. I was in the building Friday, and man, I've never experienced anything like that, Vinay, where I guess I underestimated how much of a Dodger town this is. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like,
yeah.
and so like I was at the Laker game, and I swear every seat you could watch the Dodger game. Like every single seat's phone had the Dodger game on. Um, and yeah, and once that grand slam hit, there was no wait. Like it was a live reaction. There was
Yeah.
no people found out in a few minutes. It was literally the ball. The ball got out, and the crowd started going crazy during gameplay. Everyone was like, "What the hell is happening?" On the floor. So no, it's been a great weekend, man. Vibes are immaculate, as the kids say. And yeah, it's been a good weekend. How's the vibes for you?
It is vibes are awesome. I was with the guys on Coach's Den during watch playback, watching the Friday game, and then I also had the Dodgers game on at the same time, and my like eyes were going in two different directions because it was hard to concentrate. It was easier to concentrate when the Lakers were down like 20 points to the Suns. But dude, shout out to the Dodgers. Shout out to Freddie Freeman going absolutely bananas and taking that insult of, I think Mookie Betts or somebody got walked before him, intentionally walked, and they brought him up
Mm-hmm.
there and hitting
Right.
that grand slam. That was super awesome. Very happy for Dodgers fans there. And then shout out to the guys doing it again, dude. Game two. And now they're up 2-0, two more games. We can get these, we win these games. The Dodgers get their another World Series. And most importantly, Raj, the Dodger fans, the Angelinos, get the parade that they were denied that
Yeah.
we didn't get when we won the World Series last time. So I'm very, very excited for all my buddies. I have a lot of buddies that are hardcore Dodger fans and go to tons of games, have season tickets, all that sort of stuff. So I'm super happy for them. Super happy for LA. The vibes are great in LA right now.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Very much in LA. And I think there was a USC game going as well
yes,
during
it's
that
crazy. It was
night, and they blew.
Friday was nuts. I
Yeah.
didn't even I saw the thing.
The,
Don't go to LA unless you're attending one of these events. I'm like, yeah, I'm not planning on going
so
in that direction.
so you know what happened is the news like pushed that out, right? They
Yeah,
obviously they called it Carmageddon,
yeah,
and they when they, so I go to a lot of Laker games a year. I don't know the exact amount. There was never this many people there at when doors open. So like doors open at 5:30, the line was way off. I was like, wow. And so when you got in, it was already packed, which is not normal. Usually for a Laker game at 5:30, it's not crowded yet.
yeah.
But almost every seat was filled that early at like 5:30 because of the Carmageddon news, which I think was a little over like blown. Driving there it wasn't terrible. But yeah, great weekend. There was a spot in crypto where, so obviously they didn't want to show the Dodger game on every TV there because it's like kind of takes people out of their seats. But there was like one sushi bar that was playing the game, and so there's just hundreds of people crowded
Packed
around
in
this
there.
little sushi bar, like watching the game while the Laker game is live. So the Lakers are down like 20, right? So everyone's like, all right, let's go watch this Dodger game. And so like the Lakers start to come back while the Dodgers like, get their win. It was a really cool kind of experience. And it felt like the Dodger win like put a battery in. It's weird how it worked, but like the
Yeah,
Dodger win kind of help the Lakers get their win. But yeah, it was a great weekend for LA people, LA sports
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah, let's hope the vibes continue, man. Let's hope the
Yeah,
Dodgers can continue to do what they do and bring home a title. Would be super cool for the city of LA. Raj, let's get into some Lakers basketball. The threats are already coming, Raj, in the chat. They're gonna post pictures of
say
you in the
one
Lakers
say one
picture.
nice thing about the Clippers. Yeah, and it get photoshops everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah. Lakers uh, have a start off 3-0. Like I mentioned at the start, they have three different types of wins that they go through, but wins nonetheless. Two of them against divisional teams, which is super important. You and I both quietly kind of tried to predict what the start would be like. I think we were happy with like a 2-1 start. I think we
yeah,
both thought that they'd lose to Minnesota, they would beat Phoenix, and then that Sacramento game might go either way
right.
because
Second night back to back.
yeah, because we historically kind of get our butts kicked by Sacramento. I think the Lakers are very aware of that too as well at the time because I know Braun got asked that after the game a couple times. But the Lakers pull it out in different. They find a way to win games, and some teams have come out from these first three games that have been very interesting, very different from what Darvin Ham was doing with this team as well. A lot
Yeah,
of people, including yourself, I've seen on the timeline, share all the ATOs that the Lakers have been running. I think that's something that everybody's been very excited for. Some really great stuff that they've
yeah,
been running. So I'll leave that for you to highlight. But the first thing I wanted to talk about for as to what this JJ led era has been is how much the basketball has been in Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis's hands
yeah.
for the majority of these games. Raj, talk to me about what you've been seeing with that two-man game because it's a lot of basketball for both of those guys.
Yeah, I thought Austin played his best game maybe in the regular season as a Laker against Phoenix. Like that was the most in control against a playoff level team, against a playoff level type defense. Obviously Nurkic and them are not a great defensive players, but I thought Austin was incredible. And it's very clear. I thought last year, Vinay, we spoke about this a lot. D'Lo and Austin kind of did this my turn, your turn thing, where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
here's your turn to run, it's my turn to run. I feel like we've kind of taken that out. It's kind of just Austin, you're running the offense, and you'll be at the top, and D'Lo gets your shots off the ball. And I think that can at times look like D'Lo's disinterested, and it's hard to kind of gauge where that is for a player that's so used to having the ball in his hands. But no, I think like our most efficient action. I don't have the numbers to back this yet, but it feels like Vinay, it's Austin AD two-man game. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're running. And those two have been great. AD is averaging 30 plus a game to start the season, MVP type numbers. And Austin, I think he had 6 turnovers against Sacramento. I don't know how many of those were his fault. Like, I went back and watched, and it was kind of tough to read which one was his and which one was, players not in the right place. But Vinay, I think he's improved as a passer. I think I underestimated Austin's ability to like improve. Just players at his age, you kind of cap them at a talent level. But I think he's improved as a passer, and JJ's really kind of not just him, but Rui. I feel like he's really like promoted them and encouraged them to be aggressive. That Rui was awesome this weekend too. But yeah. So AD has like a lot of shots where he's getting to the line a ton. But I love how much we're putting the ball in his hands to like run his ball screens, have people screen for him. It's been fun to watch, man. The ATOs have been fun. I feel like a lot of that is Dalton centric, which is weird
Mm-hmm.
to say, but like a lot of our ATOs are for him, and we kind of play out of that. I don't think it's coincidence, Vinay, that like Dalton has spearheaded every run to start these three. Not spearheaded, but in terms of he checks in and the run happened against Minnesota, happened against Phoenix, and happened again last night against Sacramento. We're
Mm-hmm.
down 7 to go in the fourth. Dalton comes in and we go on a 16. And a lot of that's LeBron too. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, just with your question, I think Austin and AD have been the pillars of the offense. And I think some of that is to let LeBron kind of pick his spots, right?
Yeah.
He had 8 points going into the fourth against Phoenix last night. I think going into the fourth, I'm not sure what it was, but it wasn't, he wasn't controlling the game offensively. I think that's how they're going to work this season. But I don't know how like successful that will be long term. But I think for right now, it's like Austin AD and everyone else work around that. But are you
Yeah.
seeing the same thing?
Yeah. I'm in agreement with wholeheartedly with everything that you're saying. I think JJ's just kind of decided that Austin's probably outside of LeBron in that starting lineup is our best 3-level threat. that we have
Mm-hmm.
when he has the ball in his hands, and AD is AD. So use your big man, use your best player on the team, and give it to the guy that's the 3-level threat, and have them work together, have them get the reps together. Raj, they've looked good. Like AD, like Austin has looked good setting up AD too as well, which is something that's a little bit
Yeah.
new. I think there were some times where Austin would kind of try to gun it a little bit too much, call his own number at times, which sometimes used to work out, sometimes it didn't. But him looking to set up AD, there were some times where he would just try to freeze, like draw the center over. He did against the Suns, I think, against when Plumlee was on the court.
Mm-hmm.
There's a play that he did. And I think it was Booker and Plumlee were defending the pick and roll, and they both go to Austin. Austin just slips a pass around to AD for a dunk or something, and you see
Yeah.
Booker turn around and look at Plumlee and be like, "What are you doing? Like, I don't need you to come and help." But you do need him to come and help because you're about to give up a layup to Austin if Plumlee doesn't come over to Mason doesn't come over to help. So I think they've looked that's been like the most surprising part of it. Not that I didn't think Austin was capable of it, but that they've been doing it so much. Like they're just, even if they miss it, make a couple mistakes, nope, we're going right back to it. We're gonna keep doing this until they stop.
Yeah, and something I noticed, and I think this happens with experience. Like they talk about you got to read the play, read the defense. But I think the best players when they like manipulate the defense, and Austin and AD, they played the bigs off the floor. Like Nurkic and Plumlee both could not close because of the way they were playing the pick and roll, and it forced Phoenix to go do a small ball look, and they went KD at the 5, and that was when they were like, "Here's LeBron, get your ISOs in," and he put the game away. But yeah, I thought like Austin's ability off the bounce, off the pick and roll, they trapped it, he got it off. That's why like Austin, it's so crazy, Vinay, watching Austin like be our closer for another year. It's just and it makes sense, right? He's a high free throw rate, can pull up off the mid range. You can't go under his ball screens, and you can't foul him. Like there's like he's very good at initiating contact. Like it's kind of what Harden does. It's what Luka does. It's what makes those guys like impossible to guard in fourth quarters. And he's really the guard that does that, and he puts pressure at the rim. Something I know that you've really hammered home is that like Austin will drive on you if his jumper's not going, and he'll get to the line and he'll really be accepting of contact. Yeah, but it feels like if his passing game has increased another level, that just changes the type of player he can be. I was thinking about this, Vinay. Like I was going through, we had 4 straight lottery picks, if I have that right. We had Randall, Ingram, D'Lo. And who am I missing? Lonzo, right? And do I have that right?
Yeah.
I think Austin's better. I think Austin's better than all those guys. Like if all those teams called today and were like, you can have this player for Austin, would you accept that right now? I don't like if Minnesota.
I would take Ingram. To be fair, I would take Ingram.
You would take Ingram?
I would probably take it just because I still believe in Ingram's ceiling being higher than what it is.
I believe in Ingram's ceiling. I think he's like, I think his best role on a good team is probably the Wiggins kind of, transformation.
I mean,
but anyway,
we don't have to debate value. But
no, I'm not debating. My point with this, I was watching that game. I was at the game Friday. I'm looking up. I was debating like if Caruso's still better. You know what I mean? And I'm looking up. Austin has like 26, 8, and 4. I'm like those aren't the Ingram one is fair. I get it. But if you never mind, we don't have to debate that. But yeah, it's just crazy watching like his kind of improvement there and being a closer on this team. And I think JJ's like really empowered him. He said, "Hey man, like you need to make these reads correct. You're gonna run the offense. You have to pick your spots." And I think he's doing a nice job of that so far.
I think Austin has been doing a really great job. I am very happy also for us, this podcast, for Austin doing well, because I want to say you and I have been, I don't want to say the lone people because I don't listen to all the other Laker podcasts because I don't really have time to do it. But I would like to think that you and I have been sort of pounding the drum of let Austin dominate the ball. We were saying that a lot last year too, as well. Like this equal opportunity stuff doesn't work. Like let the guy who's your best offensive threat at all 3 levels do it, just because he's just good at it. And it's nothing against D'Lo. It's just you need somebody to be a threat at all 3 levels in order for that pick and roll to work with AD. And so there are certainly times where D'Lo it can be good at that level too. But we know that it's not the type of guy who likes to go to the rim too much. He likes to settle for that floater and stuff. But I don't want to harp on it, but that has been fantastic to see. Raj, talk to me about how AD has looked, because he has looked amazing. He's been mixing it up. He's not taking like a bunch of threes or anything. He looks great going to the rim. He looks great in post ups. He looks great with the little jumper that he likes to take. He's looked fantastic. Talk to me about what you've seen from AD.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a coincidence, Renee, that like this is happening following an Olympics run. Like I think AD's just in great shape. Like
You
there's
think
no
it forced him to stay in shape? The Olympics, like, just he didn't get to
it,
like hang out and play GTA all
it,
summer.
So I don't think there's anything wrong with like I don't think AD comes in out of shape, but he doesn't come in like prime
Like
physical
rhythm.
condition. Right. And right now he's in absolute prime and like you have to
Yeah.
be, right? If you're practicing next to Anthony Edwards every practice, like if you're practicing with KD, if you're, if you're not Jason Tatum who's on the bench the whole Olympics, like if you're playing minutes, during the Olympics, you have to be in shape. And I think AD's just in prime shape. And like last night, so Sabonis is for some reason the final boss in AD's, battle with
He
the
is. That's
league.
the best way to describe him. That is
Yes,
what he is.
he's the final boss. But even last night, I thought I'm a firm believer. Vinay is like players like Sabonis, player like Jokic. You don't beat them like you meet force with those kind of guys. You don't try to go around them or try to elude them or trick them. You go through their chest, and I thought he did that. Sabonis still got his fair share of like dunks and all that stuff. But no, AD looks awesome, man. And people I think way over dramatize the 3-point shot for him. And he did have a clutch one last night. He had a huge three
Yeah.
to put the game away. But I think that was his only 3-point attempt, if I have that
Yeah.
correct. Or maybe he took
But
one
see,
more.
Raj, he took it with confidence. That's the
He
thing.
did.
Like he didn't think about what he was going to do with it. That
So,
there's a big part. There's something about that when he takes that three.
so this is the chicken or the egg thing because I think that confidence comes from him having the ball the whole game and
That's
just
fair.
scoring. It doesn't come from him taking threes all game. It comes from I've seen the ball go through the hoop a ton of times in the fourth quarter. I'm hitting I'm getting the pocket. And Austin, again, I'm gonna give him credit. He knows like when AD, Ryan Russo, I think it's Russo, and Richard Jefferson were talking about this on the broadcast on ESPN. But we forget that like this is the third or fourth season that Austin and AD have like played together. Though, so there is some like real connection there, and like Austin really knows like when AD gets to that floater range, like the exact point where AD's at that like perfect floater range where he can just go out right up with it. And he had a couple of those go in. And I think that leads to the 3-pointers being successful. But the mid-range shot, I think he's been confident when he's taking it. We're not seeing as Sabonis is not a guy he's gonna take fadeaways over a lot. But yeah, man, I think AD looks awesome. And this is like he's had 30 straight and 3 straight games. I don't think he did that last year at all, if I have that correctly. So no, 80 looks great. What are you seeing from him besides just the conditioning? I guess that's working.
I think he's playing with a level. The confidence that he's playing with is really high. I think one thing that's also adding to this, that's making it possible for him to do that, is they are protecting AD. Like on the defensive end, they've been like the two big lineups with Jackson. They're basically like, I was going to talk about this in a separate segment, not spend too much time, but we can just cover it now because it's part of AD. JJ is using Jackson Hayes in the Vando role without having him go out on the perimeter. He's quite literally telling him, you're going to crash the glass defensively. You're going to defend the shots. You're going to use your body. You're going to help protect AD if AD has to get pulled out to the perimeter for whatever reason. And certainly there are times where Jackson does not look good, but there's like Sacramento game was a great example. That first shift that Jackson did not look good, but the second shift that he did looked way better. And he was like way more, once he kind of found his rhythm and stuff like that, especially when Braun went on that run, Jackson was running hard, doing that.
Yeah.
So hats off to JJ for that. But I think that kind of stuff, and then we haven't talked about him yet, but Rui crashing the glass. There's a reason all this stuff has happened that I want to get to, and I'll get to it a little bit later. It's about Braun, so we'll get to it a little bit later. But I think those small efforts that we've been getting, Rui crashing the glass, Max crashing the glass, Austin's been grabbing like 4 or 5 rebounds a game now. Like our guards are crashing the glass. That sort of those possessions of AD not having to do that is giving him some life in his legs. Like he's like, okay, I don't have to be the guy that's always back here blocking the shot and grabbing the rebound, and I have to run all the way down before everybody else does. And I think when you get 5 to 10 possessions a game where AD doesn't have to do that, and he can use some of that energy on offense, like you said. I think Trevor Lane posted the stat that AD's usage has been the highest it's ever been through the
Yeah.
first 3 games, and LeBron's has been like the lowest, which we can talk about. But AD is a rhythm player. He is not like you can ignore him for like 10 minutes and he'll still be like in rhythm because he does
Right.
others. Like he has to touch the ball to have a touch on his floater and his jump shots. And so I think that keeping him involved, and I think
Hmm.
JJ Redick came out after game 2 or game 1, where he said that like the coaching staff has decided AD has to touch the ball like the
Yeah.
most as much as
Yep.
possible. I think all of that plus saving his legs and his workload has gone a very very long way, and that's why the Lakers have like this floor with AD right now that's been really really great.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned Jackson Hayes, and I just love having. Again, Jackson wasn't great. You mentioned in that first half, but there were possessions where like they were like, all right, just guard Sabonis for
Yeah,
3-4 minutes, so AD doesn't have to take the beating. And Jackson fouled, and Sabonis throws like a ton of elbows. So he's like, it's almost
yeah.
football a little bit the way he's played. So he's a very aggressive type center. But just to have Hayes out there, and to play next to him. We're mixing in some zone coverages as well. We mix in some switches. Jackson Hayes, whenever he's on the floor, they're switching a lot more just to kind of take advantage of his foot speed and his athleticism. But you're right. Give AD a break on there, and Rui crashing hard from the baseline. I don't know what Ham was whispering versus what JJ's is whispering, but JJ's one is going into the ears somehow, and feels
I
like
have a theory which I'll get to, but you
okay.
finish your observation. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, I was saying like Rui crashing just I think it just compounds a lot of effort. I forgot who said this on Twitter, but they said the Lakers have the best scoring front court in the league.
Yeah,
With a Rui, AD, and LeBron. And you don't really think of it that way, at least from last year. I didn't think of it. Maybe because Rui didn't start until end of January, whenever it was. But like, I thought about like, yeah, that's a very forceful front court when obviously LeBron and Rui are also attacking the glass. Like it's a tough to like box all those guys out. I'm gonna bring Dalton into this too, which is why I think it's not a coincidence. Like having one shooter, Vinay, that you know this when even just playing, in pickup, having a shooter that you have to like maintain eyes on at all times, it compromises a 5-man defense. Like it's not just the guy who's guarding the shooter.
yeah.
The 5-man defense gets occupied with their eyes, and that's where you get the Austin Reeves crashes from the baseline. That's where you get Rui crashing from the baseline. I think it's compounding in a way that's working really well. We can't keep getting down. Phoenix, we got down by 20. Sacramento, I think, was a more of a back and forth game. But yeah, you're right. Like these athletes are working. But I'm interested in your theory on like what I guess has changed for Rui in the two coaching staffs.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things, and this was, I was going to roll this in with the Braun thing. Sometimes it's very hard because everything's so intertwined. It's kind of
Yeah,
hard to keep
100%.
discrete things. So we'll just, so for the folks who are listening, there's like we're just going to keep rolling with this
Yeah.
as we're going. So like Rui's rebounds have been up, and I know that last season people were like, "Oh, Rui doesn't rebound the ball enough. He doesn't rebound the ball enough." There was a reason for that. A lot of times Rui was being assigned to guard the perimeter guy. So he was never
Mhm.
actually in position to crash the glass. The offensive rebounds is a different thing. That's JJ telling him just go crash from the corner because you're not going to be you're going to be the last guy back anyways because you're so deep in the corner
Mhm.
during those offensive possessions. But one of the things that JJ has done is, and this is also credit to Braun, is he's basically telling Braun you have to guard on the perimeter, and we're going to tell Rui to go guard those guys down low. So if you
Yeah.
watch that Sacramento game, you don't see LeBron. And think about when the Lakers played last season against the Kings. You remember possessions where LeBron basically had to guard Sabonis for stretches of games if AD
Yeah.
got in foul trouble or if AD needed a break, whatever it was. Even when we had Christian Wood and guys like that. But if you watch the Sacramento game recently, it was Rui that was picking up Sabonis. Rui has a lower center of gravity. He's pretty strong. So he was picking up some of the switches. They tried to run like a DeMar and
Yeah.
Sabonis pick and roll, and Rui was on DeMar because DeMar's not going to take threes outside of those bogus three threes that he hit in the fourth quarter to
Yeah.
keep it close. But
God.
like they could switch that matchup. So AD just picks up DeMar, and I think he blocked a shot once or twice, or Jackson may have done it too.
Mhm.
And Rui just picks up Sabonis and tries to keep him away from the rim. But I think what's happened is JJ's asked LeBron. He said, "Look, we want you to be out in transition." This is something we talked about. Like he did it on Team USA. There were times at the late games against like Serbia, he got switched on to Jokic, and he did a great job standing up Jokic. LeBron did, and but for the most part, Team USA tried to avoid having LeBron have to play that low man tagger, be the secondary help, crash the glass if AD goes to block a shot, sort of thing. They've eliminated that for LeBron. They said just guard the perimeter. If you get blown by it, okay, it's fine, no biggie. Like it'll happen, but just defend the guy. I saw him defending against the Suns. He was defending Bradley Beal on the perimeter at sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I think that change is why you're seeing Rui have to be more engaged on defense because now he's the low man in the sense that if AD goes to go for a block, you have to help crash now because your guy's already down here with everybody. And I think that the reason why I want to separate it into a LeBron topic was because I think Bron is actively allowing his teammates to do that. Every game that we've had so far, Rui, Austin, and AD have been getting their games off in the first quarter. And it's not until maybe the second quarter when Bron gets the shift with D'Angelo Russell and himself where he really becomes super aggressive.
Turns it on. Mm-hmm.
And that I think is by design. I don't think that's by accident. And I think that's why we're seeing the more engaged Rui. I think that requires leadership and sacrifice from your best player, which would be LeBron in our case. And I think Bron being willing to do that, there's like he also looks a little bit rusty because he's coming off of Team USA and stuff like that. But I think accepting that, look, this is the best way to preserve your legs and the best way to use you. And for LeBron to agree to do that, which I think he has to do, right? Because like if he wants his 25 or 27 points a game, whatever it is, his career averages are like, you still have to be able to shoot the ball. But him being willing to do it, I think is allowing these guys to be more successful. And Raj, the structure that JJ is providing to them, the two-man game with Austin, like it's been two-man game with Austin and AD, and then ISOs with Rui. And like that stuff is all working out. Nobody's stepping on anybody's toes, and then everybody gets their moments. I think that's what's been happening. I think it's been great to see. We're getting great results out of that so far.
Yeah, I think the player that's probably been impacted the most, just first 3 games, I'm not judging it, but I feels like D'Lo's been kind of
for sure
outside looking in, very unsure of where his shots come from, and just trying to work with. And like I think he's done a great job at least of not forcing it or taking terrible shots. Last night I thought he hit huge threes to kind of keep us above water when Sacramento was, and a lot of that was D'Lo's defense as well. So it was kind of just getting back what he gave up. But in any case, he hit a lot of really clutch threes during that moment. But yeah, I could see that. I think they're trying to lessen LeBron's minute load, and I think his minutes are down as well. He's at like 32, 33 to start the season. And yeah, it reminds me a lot of last year. The Clippers went on like a crazy run, right? They went on like some 23-2 run or something like that. And people pushed which is true. Paul George and Kawhi were healthy during that stretch. But as a SoCal narrative, like as watching all those Clipper games, it was Harden and Zoo that like ran their offense, you know what I mean, and kind of kept them. I'm not saying Paul George and Kawhi didn't contribute. I'm just saying like that's their base entry point offensively was a Harden Zoo pick and roll, and then how you defend that is how they go about attacking you, right? So if you trap Harden, then they have Zoo on the short roll. But if you play a straight up drop, then they have Zoo on the lob or they kick it to the corner, whatever it is. Lakers kind of do the same thing with like Austin and AD as being your entry point offensively, at least in the first 2 or 3 quarters. Have them attack, have Austin run the offense. If however you guard that is how they kind of attack you. D'Lo open on threes. If you put a small guy in Rui, and I've loved, again, this is where I go with the whispers that are going in, like Rui's aggression being there. On Friday, we were down like 20, and and Rui just started like, he's like, oh, I have Bradley Beal on me, like I'm going to the rim. Yeah, I'm going to the rim, getting to the line. And it wasn't like, because he has a tendency to settle a lot for those mid-range fadeaways. But he was getting to the rim, getting to the basket. And there's space there. I think the floor is spaced correctly. It was fun. I don't know if you heard the audio, but LeBron was like kind of telling Rui, like, I hit 10 jump shots in a row. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. I hit 10 jump shots in a row. You're going to take a mid-range jumper.
That was funny.
swing with some profanity at the end of it. But again, like I just think like the overall kind of offense is flowing nicely. And I think you said you had no issues about the offense even before the season started. You had no concerns that they would be able to score.
And
we're definitely able to score. defense is kind of where I want to go next. But do you have
Yes.
any last thoughts on the offense and how
Yeah,
it's
no,
trending so far?
overall, the theme has been more structure, which I think a lot of Laker fans expected. I think all the coaching section of Lakers Twitter was super excited for the structure of it, uh, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see that. Sometimes we kind of ironed out some of the lulls. Granted, we haven't really played super strong defensive teams just yet, and I think there's still a stretch where we could see it go the other way. But I'm not shocked that the offense is good. I always expected the offense to be good. It was good last
Right.
year with that starting lineup. But we should talk about the defense. But because there's certainly some themes that still need some correction and adjustment. So let's go in that direction. Go for it.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So I think it's interesting because I didn't think we like played terribly against Sacramento in the fourth quarter. I
Mm-hmm.
thought they hit a lot of shots. De'Aaron Fox hit 2 contested threes in his face. DeRozan 2 contested threes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's striking. I guess I give Austin credit. I think he's improved. Like we had Austin on Anthony Edwards,
Yeah.
Vinay in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. We had him on Devin Booker against Phoenix, and we had him on De'Aaron Fox. Like he's become kind of the perimeter guard, chaser, defender. But I don't think it's a coincidence that Gabe has closed like 2 of these games so far,
Yeah.
and he can't hit a shot. It's because I think D'Lo's defense is very striking, especially when he's not obviously if he's not involved offensively, and then you're also not getting any of the defensive resistance at all. I think that's kind of standing out, at least to me. I think maybe Vando coming back just solves a lot of this. You put one more defender in there, and I think Max as well is kind of the game still seems a .5 speed faster than
Sure.
he's processing it. I feel like his body is ahead of his mind a little bit on there, but that's a lot of places to take it. Where you want to start with this, like the
Yeah.
the perimeter defense? You think?
Yeah, instead of picking on a specific, I think D'Lo's the easy person to pick on right now. I
Yeah,
think Lakers
for
Twitter has
sure.
made it very, very abundant. The bronze section of Lakers Twitter is like there that the eyeballs on D'Lo are starting to bubble. I was
Yeah,
joking about that on the playback with the coaches den guys. I said once the Braun folk they've got their bullseye on you, you're in trouble. You gotta make
once
amends
that
very
agenda's
quickly.
written in
Yeah, yeah.
pen.
I look, man. Laker fans are very vocal, but
Sure.
Braun fans are a very vocal group too as well. If they can get you trending very very fast for lowlights if they want you to, I'm very aware of how well they work. But let's instead of picking on a specific guy, I want to talk about something thematically. Their
Mm,
transition defense was not good last year. It was I think something that you pointed out before where the foot speed has been an issue for the defensive foot
yeah,
speed for the Lakers, especially in transition, has been an issue. And I think the defensive foot speed this season is still a little bit of an issue. Now, last season, it was more like, okay, AD takes a layup, falls down, doesn't get back on defense. It's a 5-on-4, they hit a three. Or LeBron
yeah,
misses a layup, goes all the way into the first row, blah, blah. Same. You get the idea of what it is. But this season, it's just a little bit of we're not getting back. Like like even our guards are not getting back. There was a play I think against Sacramento where we scored a layup at the rim and they threw a long outlet to I
oh
think
yeah,
Malik Monk or something like that,
yep,
and nobody
yep,
was back. I think Austin made the layup or something like that off of a pick and roll action, and nobody.
yeah,
I think it was. I might be wrong, but they threw this long outlet pass and it basically negated our scoring because they scored so fast. So
yeah,
we've had situations like that also against the Suns, that was an issue, like to start the game.
early on, yeah,
That first half, like the Suns, every long miss, they're pushing it every single time. And you have to remember, even if it's a 1-on-2, if that second defender isn't in position to support the first defender, all you got to do is beat the first guy, and you can probably get a good shot off. And when you have a guy like Devin Booker or Kevin Durant or even Bradley Beal, who was the guy who was doing a lot of damage in the first half, like that worked against the Lakers' favor. So that is an issue, Raj. Like this transition defense, I don't quite know how we fix that. And
yeah,
my only thought has been you have to play more defensively sound guys that can prevent some of that transition stuff from happening. Obviously, we
yeah,
know there's some basketball politics and, we can't really move certain guys out of the starting lineup. But how do you fix that? Like, how do we remedy that situation? Do we just tell our guards, yo, if you're not involved in the play, run back on defense? Is it as simple as that? Because that's all I can think of.
yeah, yeah. I mean, some of it again. I don't want to pick on D'Lo. It's just like that level of resistance is just it's tough to win. Like the basketball's becoming where you're as good as your best offensive player and as good as your worst defensive player, right? It's kind of like that's how basketball works. And the Kings just relentlessly, I thought, hunted him to where again, Gabe was not hitting shots. He was could not shoot, Vinay,
Hmm.
and yet he still had to close because they needed someone to put on, to play defense. And I think that's an issue that JJ will continue to have to solve in transition. I think we're doing a little bit better job, but again, like it does, like I guess it's tough because the last two teams we played might have the best like offensive, like the Kings
Yeah,
just
they're
running
great offensive.
absolute,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, incredible offense, and they can just get hot. Even a guy like Kevin Herter, who isn't even, I don't know what top percentage 3-point shooter he is,
yeah,
he hits two in a row, and it's all of a sudden like he's a fire alarm shooter that you have to run off. And then Phoenix is like, yeah, D'Lo's back, but it's KD with the ball, so like it doesn't change anything, if
yeah,
like Austin's back or whatever. So those type of things, it's to me in the half court that like lead or like are terrible shots in the half court that lead to like runouts, right? Like Gabe took a trend, like Gabe was in no rhythm for this, but took a transition three
yeah,
when we were like up 12 or 13, and then Sacramento being the great transition team they are, I think Sabonis got the rebound and took it all the way and scored. Like that's the type of stuff to me where like you can kind of fizzle that out by better shot selection. But yeah, when you're start this small and you have the foot speed issue that you do, I think you're always going to be kind of in trouble in transition, which is why I think the offense being what it is so important. Being able to set your defense up, have a half court set. Because I like our schemes in the half court, Vinay. I liked how we're pushing ball handlers away.
hmm
I thought Phoenix took a lot of like threes early that got them the lead, and then
yeah.
it's funny, we were down 22, and I was in the building. I was like, they're gonna let us back. Like I just knew that
How did
like
they did that like twice last year? Isn't didn't they like where they came out super hot and then in the second half, I want to say like in the third quarter, we took back the lead or something like that. It feels like that this is the theme has been pretty consistent with that. Where when they
yeah,
fall in love with the three ball early.
might have been in the play the in season
One
tournament
of the
game,
in-season
maybe.
games, I think.
Yeah, when they did that. But yeah, extremely jump shot heavy. Man, they were celebrating Vinay. Like I don't know if it showed on TV, but man, that team was absolutely celebrating while
Dude,
up
I
22.
can I tell you there was a moment where I thought I was just like there was a moment where I was like, we're gonna lose this game.
Yeah.
And it's one of those shots where it's like when it goes in, when the person shoots it and it goes in, you're like, okay, this is just going to be a stupid game. We're going to lose it. I think Ryan Dunn took a right corner three
Oh yeah.
that banked off the right side of the backboard,
Yeah.
which is
From the corner.
from the
Yeah.
corner, from the same side corner. Which I was just like, what? Like
Yeah.
I can't. I was thinking to myself, could I pot? How would I do that from that deep in the corner? I don't know how he did it, but you could see it like hit the backward and it banked in. And I was just like, all right, bro, we're gonna lose this game because they're making ridiculous shots like this.
They were. Yeah.
But different story at the end of it.
Uh, oh yeah, I was like, man, Beal was just absolutely, loving it. It was when they were up, of
Yeah,
course, and then once the Lakers came back, obviously his shot diet changed for
yeah,
sure. Those threes aren't as smooth when you're up 22, when you're down. But no, like I thought the energy, in the building was great. Kind of lost where we're going with this. We were talking about the defense, and I started
defense.
going
Yeah,
off.
thematically,
Yeah,
like
yeah, but like I've liked what we had schematically. I just man, just D'Lo's with Austin's improvement defensively, like D'Lo's defense sticks out even more. Like I'm not trying to pick on him. It's just like being there at the game live, like it really comes off when like everyone else is like in lockdown in stance mode, and then I forgot what play it was last night. But D'Lo's guarding somebody, and he just like reaches haphazardly, and the guy gets right into the paint and does a little floater, and Billy Mack and Stu were like, yeah, that's way too easy. Like that's like
there
this
was
gotta be.
there was a play I think Kevin Herter where he closed out on Kevin Herter and he like I want to say it was Kevin Herter and he like kind of very lazily tried to close out on him. And Herter
Mm,
just blew by him baseline and took like a layup or like a reverse layup on the whole team.
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
just like, all right, dude, like this is too easy. Like you gotta show something. Like this is Kevin Hurt. Like he's a good player, but it's like, all right, man, he shouldn't be blowing by
right,
you like this.
right. Which is why like I think Gabe, like I think I underestimated how good defensively he could
Mhm.
be, but it's obviously his shot's not there. Hit a clutch one against Phoenix, I think, to put us up. Had a
Yeah,
clutch corner
left corner, I
three.
want to say. Yeah,
Yeah, left corner three. But yeah, I think like he was really getting under the skin of like Beal and even KD a little
yeah,
bit. And he's a smart defender, and he a steady hand does not get in the way, will not take usually doesn't take shots that are out of his kind of comfort zone.
He'll grab rebounds. So the way that I like to describe Gabe for folks who get annoyed by him is he's one of those guys that like at the end of games where possessions are like a premium, he'll win you some of those 50-50 balls
Mm,
just off the strength of his effort. So I think
yeah,
it's super beneficial. We probably won't have time to do a whole JJ segment about adjustments, but there's two JJ things I want to talk to you about that kind of
mm,
relate to this D'Lo thing. So in the Suns game, the Suns in the second half at some point decided we are going to ISO D'Lo every single chance that we get, and whoever D'Lo is guarding, we're
yeah,
going to try to get the switch. They did it with KD a couple times, and then I want to say they did it with Brad or they did it with somebody else. I can't remember who it was. And they were scoring like they were scoring not every single time, but they're scoring at a higher clip than whatever else that they wanted to do. And I remember tweeting it out in the second half, and I think eventually the Gabe closes that game out, so D'Lo doesn't end up seeing the floor. Um, that was a moment in like JJ's thing where I was just like, okay, I know you see, I can see it, so I was like, I know you can see what's happening here, like what they're trying to do.
yeah,
So that was like one thing in my mind where I was just like, JJ should probably like if he doesn't see that resistance or that defensive pride from D'Lo, like you have to pull him like at some point. And whether it's Gabe or Max or whoever it ends up being, you have to do that. And then there's this. Talk to me about that. Do you think it's as easy as you know what he just doesn't have it defensively tonight? He had kind of a rough offensive game against them too as
yeah.
well. Uh, you got to should I guess my question is should D'Lo have a shorter leash when he's not engaged defensively?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because I think you need to keep him engaged in
Hmm.
at all times, like season wide and game wide. I don't know what the exact math there is, and I don't think there is an equation to it. But I think like what's important and what's clear is like JJ trusts Gabe in a way that's surpasses just on court, box score numbers. It's
Hmm.
very Gabe's very easy of a player to like Vinay, if you don't watch the game and then you go to the box score, right? Like let's say the game goes late and you wake up the next morning, like Gabe played 25 minutes and he shot twice. As that is very easy to do that. But I think if you watch, like that dude chased over every screen with
Yeah.
full intensity, right? Got a lot of deflections, boxes out. When he screens, he gets contact. That's one of my favorite Gabe things. Like when he screens, he makes sure to get actual contact.
Hmm.
And he got I forgot what it was last night, but he was screening for AD on Sabonis and he forced like a foul and it got his free throws late. Like it's just like little stuff like that you don't see in like a box score type thing. But yeah, I don't know what that is. I think in a granular scheme and a lot of the questions on our live is very much tailored towards this. It's like, can we get D'Lo out for some defensive player that can shoot?
I'm telling you, man, that
But
that it's coming. I mean, I don't want that to happen to D'Lo. I would love for the defensive stuff to be there for him, but I think one of the things is like that's never been his thing. You know, like being a defensive lockdown guy, even not a
no,
lockdown guy, but just like a defensive guy has never been his thing. Not to say that he won't try and put effort into it, but he's not like athletic in the way that you typically see defensive guys being. And so
yeah.
it's just I think the noise will get louder if that kind of stuff continues to happen, at
Yeah,
least for his situation.
there's a baseline for D'Lo on defense that like needs to be reached on a night to night basis, and he
Fair.
goes so far below baseline on some games that it's like striking how I don't think this is a conscious decision by him. I think this is just like he gets back and he's like, I'm not a good defender. They're hunting me, so let me just at least try to get a steal. A low percentage play, but like high reward, right? Very high risk, high reward type plays, and the Lakers defense gets compromised for those decisions. But yeah, I still think there's like a real big offensive role for him on this team that exists. I think Jay is trying to make him this off-ball 3-point shooter,
Mm.
and trying to make him the high volume 3-point shooter. And last night he got some plays where he was able to attack Herder, and Herder's the guy that you want to attack against the Kings, and he got some layups out of that. But yeah, I think the defense stuff is striking, which we're at 45 minutes here, and like I really want to discuss the Dalton Max
Yes.
situation because I think
Yeah.
that ties into this, right?
Yeah.
Because I know, I think Max. We do this with players all the time, Vinay, where like we watch what we want to watch. Like,
Yeah.
like I
You
think
look for
what
the
we all
confirmation bias. Like what
right,
is it that'll yeah,
that's the word, right? And
yeah,
so our heart like wants Max to like be there, like
yeah,
obviously in right. But like if you watch, if you because I follow a lot of fans from other teams, and they're like, man, Max Christie is not there yet, and they're watching just purely from like an
yeah.
outside stage. They have no heart into it. I think Max does some things still on the floor that help. He had some steals, had some big rebounds, I thought inside, but
I want to say he had a play when we started our comeback where he stripped DeRozan on a play. Like it
mhm.
was like DeRozan tried to go into a pull up, and it might have been DeRozan, or it might have been somebody else, where he just like literally just like fought him for the ball, grabbed the ball out of his hands to help jumpstart that run.
Yeah, but he's worse on the team today in plus minus. I know that's not a
Yeah,
stat that we champagne or like,
yeah,
put out, but I think it is a stat that's loud sometimes.
yeah.
And I think that
To
kind of
to be
matches.
fair, to be fair, I
Yeah.
got the plus minus pointed out to me for last game where he was minus 20 by or minus 22 or something. But
Right.
AD was like minus 20 last game, and Austin was like minus
Yeah.
22 last game. So sometimes
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where you get caught in a
Sure.
bad run, and that just
Sure.
kills your plus minus completely.
For sure.
Yeah, go
But
ahead.
yeah, I still like again. I think the shot's still just a little
For sure.
slower than it needs to be for NBA defense level type contest. And I think like the defense is okay, but it's not. I think what the Lakers want, which is here's Beal for 10 minutes, go guard him. Like that. I think that's what they want from Max. I'm
Mhm.
not sure he's there yet. And then you have Dalton, who's just hitting three after three on consistent
Yeah.
level. Um, so where's the minutes, I guess, in that battle for you? Like, can they still both be a part of the rotation? Is this a just play them both, and kind of lessen the guards, or do you feel like this is a competition? Because it feels like to me, Max played 11 minutes, Renee, last night
Dalton
or
played
2
20.
nights ago. And yeah, Dalton played like 20 minutes, and I think that number's going up. He didn't play the first and third quarters, and I think that's changing. I don't think Dalton's going a whole quarters without playing very soon. So I tweeted out. I'm a little concerned that Max is like, and Vando's not even healthy yet. And in my opinion, Vando competes for those minutes as well. He's in
Yeah.
that rotation lint. So I'm still high on Max. It might be a year earlier than maybe we wanted to. But just talk to me about that situation so far. Three games in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if the question is, if we cut down on some of D'Lo's minutes, who should get his minutes? Like, I think it is honestly a toss up. But I think Dalton's probably in the lead right now, just because Dalton has to play, dog. Like we said this before the season even started, but I was just like, we know, okay, we're not the foremost experts on basketball, but we watch a ton of Lakers basketball. We watch a ton of basketball. Dalton is too good to not be playing at least 20 to 30. I said 30 minutes because I was trying to be super
Yeah, I
aggressive about
remember. Yeah,
the thing, but he's got to play. And the only reason I think both actually Max and Dalton aren't playing is because D'Lo is in that spot. And if D'Lo isn't on the team, I think you would see Max playing 25 minutes a game, and you'd see Dalton playing 25 minutes a game. And they'd probably split the minutes. Maybe it would skew a little bit more towards Dalton because he's a scoring threat. But dude, he has to play. So like right now, because Max, there was a point like in that Sacramento game, and I think I want to say even in the Suns game, where you could tell Max didn't want to shoot the ball. Like he was passing up
yeah,
open
passing
shots
up open
and
shots.
driving. Like the Sacramento game, that yeah, he had 2-3 turnovers where he tried to slip a pass. One of them he tried to slip a pass to LeBron, which was a good idea. It just didn't execute well. I don't even
Yeah,
think
it
Bron
was
was
a
ready
it
for
was
it.
a paint to paint pass, I think,
Yeah,
inside.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Interior pass,
interior pass. Yes.
and he had an open three that he passed up that he like pump faked out of that he didn't need to. He
Yeah,
could
he
have just
tried to
taken a three.
drive and create. Yeah.
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think he's not. I think he's a little shaky about his or self aware. Let me put it that way. You can tell he's a little self aware about the fact that he hasn't made a three in a while. So I think that's kind of throwing him off offensively. That's manifesting into bad turnovers, which Laker fans are very quickly pointing out, and even non-Laker observers are pointing out that hey, he might not be there yet. I think the defense is still good. He has to adjust to how refs call the game. Like how
Mm,
physical are you allowed to be with Bradley Beal? How physical are you
yeah.
allowed to be? That part he's not. He hasn't truly gotten a chance to learn because he hasn't played those minutes. So I think that's a growing pain that he would learn. But he's timely with his hands. He's timely with how he moves his body. Like I said, the physicality he has to figure out. The shooting he certainly has to figure out. I'm at a point, Raj, where I'm like, bro, if you don't want to take the three, as soon as you catch it, go attack the rim. Go and try and dunk on somebody. Like do
Eh,
something, but don't do the in between thing where you're trying to like I really don't want to shoot it, so I'm going to force a pass to the wrong guy and make things
Yeah.
more complicated. Go for it.
Yeah, I don't know how we would do this, but I'd love to, because like it's crazy to say this about Dalton, but Dalton's already to me at a level where I'm not saying it doesn't matter who he plays with, but like he doesn't need the type of space,
No, he
like
doesn't.
so
Yeah, he doesn't.
like that ATO that they ran Vinay where like he came off and I thought he got fouled too, but like off in the corner, DHO contested, like got very little space. The one against the Suns, he looked KD in the eyes and just like dotted it right in his face. Like
Yeah,
that, like my point with this, like he doesn't need to be open to shoot. And
yeah,
so if the pass is coming from LeBron, the pass is coming from Austin, like it's going up in a way and he's gonna be consistent with it. I feel like Max might need a little bit more minutes with the starters just to like open the game up and
might
where
be.
where his ball handling doesn't really have to come into the equation. Because
Yeah,
I'm with you because he's not really ready yet for a full NBA closeout and be confident to release it. It's clear,
yeah,
and he's doing a lot of thinking as well to me. But then like to the play you're talking about, he tried to attack the closeout. He's just not shifty enough. Doesn't really have the
yeah,
handle like yet to do that. And he's not really confident in his mid range shot right now. I don't think he's taken a mid range shot this season yet in 3 games. Um, that was a shot he took consistently in the
yeah.
preseason,
But a
but
lot of
right
it
now,
was out of pick and roll action stuff. It wasn't out
mm,
of attacking closeout. So like that's a
right,
new thing for him. Where if the attack on the closeout isn't a straight line drive,
where
um,
he's just shooting. Yeah,
and that's the IQ part, right? Like he doesn't know how to read that coverage. That like, oh, I blew by this guy, but then
right.
there's a dude at the rim, a dude at the waiting for me at the rim. So what do I do? That sort of thing.
Yeah, and then the foul part's a good point because I think this works both sides, Vinay, where like he could drive and think he got fouled, but he knows he's not getting he hasn't earned that
Yeah, he
call
has earned it.
in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
league, right? You're just
yeah,
not getting that in this league yet. So like yeah, he's in a weird spot. But again, I'd love to see him get some minutes with the stars where like his cutting could come into fruition where like he can cut off a LeBron, he can cut off AD, but playing in that second unit, it's a tough place to get shots. It just D'Lo, Max, I think they're running with like LeBron, Rui. Like it's a tough place for him to find shots. And so it's kind of the point where like, yeah, Max has played 12 minutes and taken 2 shots. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like, where's the shot coming from?
There was I want to say there was a lineup either against the Suns or against the Kings where Max and Gabe played together. They had them
Mm,
very discreetly, had like two defensive guys out there on the perimeter, and their roles
yes.
were like, don't worry about shooting because Braun's going to shoot this every single time. This is like the
Yeah.
lineup for that. And I thought they did a really good job. I want to say it was like maybe a 2 minute stretch or 3 minute stretch where that went really well for them. And that might be where he needs to. That might need to be his starting point where you're not relying on Max for more than maybe an occasional three the same way you wouldn't look at Gabe for that responsibility too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. I don't remember if this is the exact lineup, but I think in the fourth quarter against Sacramento, we made our run
Yeah,
actually. We had Gabe, Max, Austin, LeBron, and I think with one more person. And it was
might
like,
have
I think
been
that's our
Jackson. Might have been
yeah, it
Jackson
might have
before
been
AD came
next.
in. Yeah,
Right, right. And I thought like that's our best three just defensive perimeter
yeah,
players that we can throw out right now. So it's like Gabe, Austin, and Max. Against it was countering the DeRozan,
yeah. Because
Fox,
they
and
went
Monk.
small. Yeah,
They went small, yeah. So and I thought that was a nice counter. We played well. We actually like got a lead, I believe, on with Max out there. And again, it was a lineup he didn't have to shoot, right? Other players can kind of get offensive touches with it. But yeah, it's striking because you would hope Max is a little bit more ready so
yeah,
far. But it's only been 3 games. It's early start this season.
yeah.
I think he
I mean,
showed
and
enough last year.
to be fair, Anthony Edwards and Bradley Beal / Devin Booker are not
Tough,
like.
yes.
I'd
Right.
be if he comes out and wins those matches, we'd be talking about Max like being one of the best defensive
That
guards in the league.
that that
So
that's
yeah,
true. Yeah, yeah. The Warriors finally played it. Well, Steph got hurt in the fourth quarter, but they finally played a real team. They were like blowing teams out by 40 to start the season.
yeah,
So yeah, no, those are tough matchups for sure. And he's gonna have another tough one tomorrow, whoever it is. But I just think it's interesting, Renee, to like Max is 2 years younger than Dalton, but I think it matters in this conversation as well.
hundred
Dalton
percent.
very much is a player that's very sure of who he is.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I do in the league.
Raj, can I tell you something? The Suns game because we're talking. We do need to talk about Dalton because this is it's getting to a point where it's going to be ridiculous, and you like they have to play him. They can't screw around with him,
Mm,
and try to like put a ceiling on his minutes. Okay, first of all, you go look at his stat lines. He's playing half the minutes as D'Lo and Max and all of these guys, and he's scoring more than they're doing. He's being put in there to shoot the ball, and he's delivering on that. But there's a play in the Suns game that like if I was a scout and I'm watching him do this at the pro level, I'd be like, oh, okay, this kid has to play. And I remember seeing this with Kuzma because Kuzma had that level of confidence being a guy who had come out
yeah.
as an older player into the league. Um, he gets a long. Sorry, he doesn't get a long rebound. The Lakers get a defensive stop, and I think Jackson or somebody grabs a rebound, and D'Lo actually comes to the ball, and the ball doesn't get outletted to D'Lo. It gets outletted to Dalton,
Dalton, and
and
he
Dalton
attacks.
doesn't
Yeah.
give it up. Dalton
Mm-hmm.
looks up the floor, and he's just like, "Oh, there's nobody in front of me." And there's only
Yeah.
two guys back. And the two guys back are like Devin Booker and Tyus Jones. Somebody who wasn't going to challenge him. Dalton takes it 3/4 of the court for a layup, for a transition
Yeah.
layup, and he walks it back. Doesn't look at his teammates. He just decided in his mind, is like, yo, this is an easy opportunity. I know I can score in this situation. I'm going to go and try and score. And he scores a layup. Raj, I saw that play, and I think people would watch that and be like, wow, Dalton's amazing. But I looked at it like, from the way I described it to you, I was like, oh, he didn't even give it to D'Lo. He's just like, no, I'm taking it this time because I know I can make this. He has to play. He has the confidence. The ATO stuff looks amazing. He's a great ATO player. He's a great relocation shooter, great movement shooter. If we have to run half court sets and get him shots like Buddy Hield does or
Mm-hmm.
Bogdan, which is the comp that he's gotten before, like that's great. But dude, this guy can attack closeouts. He is an athlete. He crashes the glass defensively too as
He
well.
does.
Like you have to play him. Dalton has to play. He is too good
Yeah.
not to play.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just adding to your play there. The guy that was ahead was LeBron. I don't even remember
Yeah,
this, but
yeah,
like LeBron was right there and he just looked him off and was like, they haven't committed. Like they haven't committed to me. So he went in for the layup. And I think the other part of this that makes it, because I think most people, I think conceptually, and I was guilty of this too, it was like, yeah, Dalton will have the offense, but Max's defense should like
yeah.
overtake Dalton's offensive impact early on. But hey, Dalton's not getting picked on defensively. Like
No.
he's not been a defensive liability so far. He has plays where he's one-on-one against Fox last night. Shifty, moved his feet, contested, paused and miss. He has plays like that against Beal as well. If Dalton's defense like hits a level that's, even just base, and I think he's above baseline, but is like at a baseline. And you talked about he's an athlete. He's 6'7", I believe he's listed at 6'7", so he's even
Yeah,
taller than
yeah, about six
Max.
six six seven. Yeah,
6'6", yeah, 6'7", so he's even taller than Max. Has some wingspan to him. That's a tough guy to keep off the floor,
yeah,
for sure. And they're running a bunch of actions for him, obviously, and I think it's helping AD and LeBron in ways like where every single play doesn't have to be LeBron or AD being the entry point. Like they're creating the chaos or they're compromising the defense.
yeah,
Dalton coming off the screen, like teams. He's on the scouting report. Like teams jump at him on picks. He's getting like other guys open. He's been absolutely huge to start. But yeah, I just think that's interesting. Like if his defense hits a point, then yeah, Max's minutes are going to be tough to find.
yeah, yeah. I think the chat's making up a good point. Like he's not like the greatest defensive player, but
No,
Dalton has a baseline level of athleticism that allows him to stay with certain guys. So like as long as he doesn't lose like containment of a guy completely. So if he gets blown by, he can get blown by for sure. Like if he gets
sure.
blown by, that's different. Like he got blown by, whatever it is. But if he can stay in front of guys, he's a good enough athlete to be able to challenge people on their shots, or absorb contact as long as it's not a heavier player and whatnot against him. But the upside benefits of his shooting is just too high. I think that is going to become a very, very, if this continues to go the way that you and I think it's going to go, I think this conversation about D'Lo and his minutes, how many minutes he's getting, because I think it's about 30 minutes right now, is what they're trying to keep him at, is going to get very tough. Somebody's going to get squeezed out of minutes between those three guys. It might be Max, because Max is the youngest probably of the group. He's got his contract and that sort of stuff. He's sort of in the situation he's in. But could be D'Lo. Like it just depends on what happens and how teams are approaching. But I think you and I are in the same place, dude. Like I don't want Dalton to have to play the 3 or the 4 unless we're playing it small lineups like we were against Sacramento or with the Suns when they decided to go smaller. Like he's a 2 or like a small
Yeah.
3. Like the way he plays basketball is not like a wing that's just going to stand and wait in the corner and try to power through guys. Like he's a guy that is going to run around on the floor, get you open threes. You want him to run with you in transition. You don't have to tell Dalton. Raj, there was a play. again, I don't want to keep harping on D'Lo. There was a play. I want to say it's the same play where Dalton. Actually, you know what? It was this. It was close to the same play where Dalton went in transition, where D'Lo was running with him, and then at some point, and like the responsibility, in basketball you have to run your lanes in transition.
Yes.
D'Lo gave up. He didn't run his lane in transition. He like ended up behind Dalton, and it didn't matter because Dalton wasn't going to give him the ball anyways. Like Dalton was going to go up, and my thing is like, if you're not going to do even that much, like you're not going to run your lane, because maybe Dalton would have at the last minute needed to make a kick out pass to that left corner or something like that. If you're not going to be engaged when it comes to those sort of situations, like, you lose minutes. There was a moment, the guys in the chat pointed it out to me, where D'Lo had a turnover in that Sacramento game where I think he went out of bounds, and he lost the ball, but I think it was still a live ball or something like that. And he like laid down on the ground because the ref didn't make a call or anything like that.
Yeah, he thought he was foul. He thought he got the bump on the side, on the baseline.
Yeah. Sacramento goes 5-on-4. I think they score on that play. JJ pulls him out immediately, like after that.
Yeah.
Because I guess he was just sitting there, or whatever it was. And like, I thought that was a great move by JJ, because they're like, look, if you're going to do stuff like that in a close game like this, it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us a game. And I understand that D'Lo probably had a gripe about the foul. So I credit to JJ for doing stuff like that. But dude, sometimes I think to myself, it's like, if Dalton was in that position, is Max in the position? Do we run into that turnover at all? Like, do they force it? Is Dalton a better athlete to get by the guy that he's guarding? It's just, those questions keep coming up in my mind when I see those specific moments. And I know there's a hyper focus on D'Lo, but you're right, Raj. Like, he's kind of been the odd man out. If there's anybody that's kind of looked like he's been out of place compared to the other starting five, it's been him. And I think the Lakers are hoping that when he gets that time with Braun in that second unit, both of those guys kind of go off. But against the Kings, it was Braun just said, "Give me the exactly the quote they told Rui, like, don't take an effing long two, give me the ball."
Right.
And just give it to me. So I'm going to be very, very curious. I think that's the storyline that we're going to try and figure out. And see what happens.
And D'Lo's a very smart individual that's very aware. And I think just, obviously just pouring my positive water in my cup. I think you have to give some credit. Like, there is a level of sacrifice here that I'm sure has
100%.
to have had, right? Where it's like, yeah, I average 18 a game. I broke the Lakers record in 3-point shooting last
100%.
year, So there's a level of like, where I'm sure JJ went to him. It was like, look, right now, like, our offense needs to run this way. And like,
very fair.
We know you can score, but right now we're gonna have you take a backseat offensively. We're gonna get Rui going. We're gonna, this is the structure I want to create, and then from there we'll build out to where you can get your looks and all that stuff. They talked about they want D'Lo to have a career year, right? Those are the quotes coming out in training camp. Those are the quotes, right? That were all coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure this is all based as a backdrop to that. But I just like with Austin's jump defensively, just like this stuff gets loud, and with Gabe Vincent closing games, this stuff gets loud. Like, Gabe Vincent can't throw a rock in the ocean as closing the game, and he's 3 inches shorter than D'Lo. Like, he's coming in for defensive purposes, and he's 3 inches shorter than D'Lo. I know he has a foot speed advantage over D'Lo and all that stuff, and but I mean, still there's a level of like information there that gets loud. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I still think there's a big role for D'Lo on this team. Obviously, again, I see the chat is all, and I think we should get to some questions here as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
we can close with that. But I think those are the biggest storylines so far. Is like the D'Lo's step back, and then the Dalton Max minutes. And I see, but Jay, we can start with this one, by the way.
Yeah. So there's a question from Twitter or from X. We should probably start calling him by his name now. There's a question from X from VJ where he's asking, to y'all, how does Dalton continuing to ascend factor into potential D'Lo trade in February? And I'll add this other question too, Raj, because they're kind of aligned with each other. Where Gray Raj is asking from YouTube, he's asking, I think Dalton creating this talent squeeze at the guard position helps us for when we make trades. So you kind of think of those two things together. Maybe even the front office was thinking of this too as well when they did draft Dalton. Granted, he was very high on their boards to begin with. What do you think of that? Like, do you think Dalton kind of, for the nicest way of saying it is, does he kind of make D'Lo expendable or easier to trade away in terms of, you might not get you might not get one-to-one value. I think, 100% for sure. D'Lo's
No,
contract isn't so big where he wipes off somebody's salary cap sheet the way Russ did when we held on to him until the trade deadline. But he's also not a terrible player. He's not somebody who's going to go and like destroy your locker room or anything like that. But he might just be sort of an expiring contract for a team to go out. So you're not really looking at him from am I getting equal value back?
yeah.
So you might look at him like a contract, but does Dalton make it easier to trade D'Lo if the right deal comes around for the Lakers?
I mean, I think it makes it easier to move a lot of players, right? I
Mhm.
think like if Dalton's a legit rotation guy, again, I think this puts Max, who is tradable, right? I think Max Christie is tradable at
Max, yeah,
that,
tradable, yeah, by
and
December,
it's a
I think, if not
okay.
sooner.
I mean, it's a very team friendly deal anyway. I think that was part of the obviously they believed in Max, but I also think that was part of the equation in giving him a 4 year, $30 million deal, whatever it was. Yeah, Dalton's gonna move a lot of pieces up the board. I honestly, Vinay, like I thought Dalton was good. I didn't think he was top 7 on our team good. But that's kind of how he's playing. He's playing like a top 7 guy, and that like moves other pieces below. And I don't think Dalton affects like I think that the need we had at D'Lo's position didn't change because Dalton's good. So like I still think there's a defensive piece that's missing. But yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask this question because this is actually a very good basketball question
Yeah,
from
it
Jordan
is.
Santiago. Like with the addition of JJ, everybody's been gushing about the structured offense and stuff like that he's been running.
Yeah,
So this question has
playmaking.
come up. I know you and I have discussed this. How much of D'Lo's playmaking do we need to make up if he's shipped
Oof.
out, or if does AR cover that now? So I don't think AR covers for what D'Lo does. I think AR he does what he does, but I think the conversation of if you have a coach who's actively calling plays, how
Yeah,
much playmaking do you really need on the team? This is like the Eric Spoelstra thing with the Heat. If he's constantly calling plays, which I don't think JJ's constantly doing at the level that Eric's doing, but you have LeBron, you have AR, you have AD for your ISOs, Rui for your ISOs. Some of that stuff is natural and organic. Um, where does D'Lo's best ability, one of his best
yeah.
abilities, which is like freelance playmaking for the Lakers, um, how much does that matter if you have a guy like JJ calling plays?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the Lakers, I think the with the move of AD kind of also being put as a point forward in our offensive sets, the D'Lo playmaking has kind of dwindled where he's more this secondary guy, kind of, making plays out of, whatever the defense when the defense is breaking down. It's tough. I want to see more, I guess, of AR before, this question gets fully answered. But Austin's looked very fine in that role. Again, had a bunch of turnovers last night, but with that notwithstanding, and again, I thought a lot of them weren't directly, his full responsibility. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know yet. I'd like to see the offense a little bit more, but right now, doesn't look like they miss it as much. I think they miss D'Lo's shot making more
For
than it,
sure.
like, that's the place I think they miss it more. And I think there's places where like that second unit, right? If you take D'Lo out and it's just LeBron in that second unit, I think there's a hole there for some secondary
Offensively, for sure.
playmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a hole there for some secondary playmaking that I just don't think Gabe fits. Like
I
I
mean,
just
either that or you'd have to put Dalton in those units and have to really hope that Dalton like really pops off when he has a
right,
lot of attention on him, which he
but
might.
sure.
But you're relying on a guy like him to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And like those units, D'Lo hasn't looked great in either. Like he's not running them at at
Yeah.
a where you would like your point guard to run them. So but yeah, I think that's a good point. Like if the season continues to go this way, then maybe you don't need to really fill the playmaking part of this, and you could just focus on the spot up guy that can guard 2 or 3 positions.
Yeah.
If whoever that guy is, I see Bruce Brown. I don't know who asked this, but someone mentioned Bruce Brown as well earlier.
Yeah,
But
I
that
think
type of archetype,
Brazy in the chat's been asking about that's what they're discussing. If a guy, so one of the questions that's been asked is, this one was from Cognitive Dissonance in on YouTube is, would a smart move if we had to move D'Lo, if we chose to move D'Lo, to go after a 3-and-D guard type, a guy who's like that archetype, right? So Gary Harris, Dyson Daniels, Aaron Nesmith, or Lonzo. I think Lonzo would be, if his knees were healthy, Lonzo would be a home run kind of player.
yeah.
If you got normal Lonzo next to a guy like Austin, because he can play on ball, off ball, that sort of thing. But I think that's the kind of guy that they hope Max can become. I think
Right.
they want Max to be a guy who's like Gary Harris. I watched Dyson Daniels today. I'm not going to go too much on him, but I watched Dyson Daniels defend Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and dude, he is so good. And like Shea was
Mm,
doing all kinds of extra stuff, throwing elbows, slight push offs, the crafty stuff, and he was having so much trouble with Dyson that they started picking on Trae Young instead.
mm,
If you could land a guy like that, that would be amazing. But it's very hard to find guys like that for expiring salary. You'd have to like scout that guy out and hope that the team that has him doesn't
doesn't see
value
it.
him very much and
Hmm.
would give him up, and obviously be willing to take the Eagles contract on in the process of doing so. So if you can find a guy, I think that would be good for the Lakers long term. But I think the Lakers believe Max can fit into that role at some point.
Right. Yeah. Dyson was like the, main piece in the DeJounte deal, if I
Yeah,
have
he
that right.
was.
So that's kind of, the
He's
the
starting
piece they
right now for
want.
the Hawks. Yeah,
He's starting. Okay, yeah. I
yeah.
think he got ejected the last game, if I remember. Or maybe he was the one that the foul was on. I think Nick Claxton fouled him hard or
Oh,
something
okay.
like that. Yeah. They had to play, but in any case, yeah, it's interesting. I was watching the Clippers today, and I was like, man, Chris Dunn would be amazing on this team.
Yeah.
Like if
Derrick
he's
Jones
making
Jr., another
Derrick
guy who's
Jones,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, Derrick Jones makes the MLE, if I have that right. But I
yeah,
mean, like Chris Dunn's making $5 million a
yeah.
year. Like it's incredible value, and I don't know what other players like that around the league. But yeah, they're hoping Max is that guy. Bruce Brown, I think, is kind of in that realm of player as well. That you'd hope that maybe you can go and grab. But yeah, that I think that's the type of players you would go and move D'Lo for. There's a real, and again, maybe Vinay, like this. What makes this interesting is like maybe Vando comes back and like that's the solve, right? Like that's 9 guys right there that like right, and that's maybe your perimeter defender that you throw on guys. And maybe does that change the D'Lo trade? I don't know. Like if
Yeah.
Vando comes back and he's healthy, I think Vando's kind of what Lonzo like. He's kind of our Lonzo, not a 3-point shooter, obviously, but kind of
Yeah.
just the defensive.
Does
Uh,
that all that in between stuff that you can't really measure that
Right,
that makes everything
right,
easier. Yeah.
right. The Swiss Army on defense kind of
Yeah.
thing. Maybe he comes back and does this, but yeah, it's interesting. Dalton definitely changes the dynamics for sure.
Okay. Raj, last question that I have is not from the chat, but I do want to touch on this because I know it's been a thing that's on Twitter. It's been
Mm.
a thing of conversation. Should we be worried about LeBron and how he started this season so far?
Should we be worried? I don't think so. LeBron looks like all this is very intentional. Like I was watching when I was there, like watching him play Phoenix. Like it was very clear he was taking a back seat, very much
Mm-hmm.
like let AD cook, let Austin cook. I really don't need to do much. And then once the Lakers like got some rhythm, and he saw the opportunity, like he's like, oh, Phoenix is reeling, and obviously he's played bajillion games. Like he knows
100%.
the
Yeah.
he knows the momentum and flow of every situation that's ever existed, in a way that no player ever will, in my opinion. So like his experience, I think, just takes over, and he's like, all right, like Phoenix is reeling, I can take over right here, and he did, and got to the line, took us home. I think every team asked for different stuff. Sacramento, it was clear that Lakers came back, they took the lead, but then Sacramento came right back, went up 7, and in the fourth quarter, his jumper was going.
Mm-hmm.
Hit a few jump shots, got hot. Um, he's done this to many franchises where he
Yeah.
takes the heart out, while you're watching, and while they're playing. It's very clear Sacramento just got punched in the mouth. And I thought we all stopped playing. I thought everyone thought the game was over. We were
Yeah.
holding the ball, and it was like 6.5 minutes left, trying to run the
Yeah.
clock,
Yeah.
thinking,
When I was on the playback, I was just like, please don't do this prevent defense off or this prevent offense thing that you guys do, because you guys do this and they're going to start running on us and we won't get
it,
back on defense. That's
it,
kind of what happened when they made the run to tie the game up, and
it, it, it,
I'm just glad we won that game. Yeah.
does he look athletically like different? Like I can't tell. I guess just watching him from the Olympics and then watching last year, it still looks like the same athlete. I think there's like he's making business decisions on like how hard he drives, how much
Mm-hmm.
contact he wants to take on. He's kind of managing game, like
Yeah.
load management is like game by game management. He's kind of quarter managing, where he's like, first quarter I can do this, second quarter I can do this, third quarter I can pick it up, fourth quarter I can pick it up
Yeah.
and get the win. That's what I see. What do you
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question simply, I would say no. I'm not worried about LeBron right now. I think he's using these first couple games, not even first. It might be like the first 10 games. He might be all of October and a little bit of November before Thanksgiving. I think he's taking these games to get up to speed. He like AD didn't really get a summer off, and he's just been
Mm.
in rhythm. It's been very beneficial for AD. Kind of gives you an idea of like what the level of stuff that AD has to do to stay in rhythm versus a guy like LeBron who actually needs the rest probably in the offseason, and really didn't get a chance with Team USA. So I'm with you. I think he's picking his spots. I also do think it is um, by design, by his design, that he's picking his spots. We talked earlier about him and JJ probably having some communication about, hey, let's start these games off, getting these guys warmed up, and we'll make sure that we get a unit for you to kind of do your thing. It seems like that's been very, very clear. The only thing that I think the only thing that's looked a little tough, and I don't even think it's him, is that he's driving to the rim and he's having a hard time like finishing at the rim sometimes. He's getting fouled too, and they're just
Sure.
not calling fouls. This is like year 10 of that LeBron not getting fouls,
Yeah.
like very obvious ones too at times at the rim. But the biggest tell for me that he's probably still working himself into like season shape has been like kind of how he takes his layups. He usually gets like he has very discreet footwork when he attacks the rim and he drives the lane and he does the spin move stuff, all that sort of stuff. And right now it's a little kind of sloppy. Like you've seen him fall to the ground a couple times, trip over himself, like just fall out of bounds. Just kind of misstepping and stuff like that. And somebody blocks a shot off him or something like that or whatever. So when that happens for a guy of his caliber, I'm like, okay, I think he's just a little rusty right now. He's just getting himself into shape. So I'm not worried
Yeah.
about him. And I think once he's back to speed, that second unit that he has is gonna turn up. It's gonna start being really, really effective. And we'll see normal LeBron that we've
Yeah.
come to expect.
I feel like his jumper has looked as good as it has.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the mid-range jumper is a very low cost. It's very much in terms of the efficiency
Yeah.
world of like it's a low cost shot for him. Doesn't take a lot of effort, and he could take it one on one.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy. Year 22, and I forgot who again. I don't remember who. Forgive me. I don't know who tweeted this, but they were like, LeBron came out, Vinay, and said he wants to play all 82, which he's not gonna play all 82, but
For sure.
but it's good to at least hear it.
Yeah.
But like 30-year-old Joel Embiid's like, I'm not playing back to backs, which is like,
Yeah.
very, very crazy to hear. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think LeBron looks good. I think he understands. No one knows the grind or like the legs necessary to get to the
Yeah.
end more than he does. So whatever math he's doing to like get there. And if Lakers Vinay can bank wins and we're not
Yeah.
fighting for our lives in January, February, and March, like that helps a lot. You can get a
That's
top 4
huge.
seed in the locked up in the West. It can really have a playoff advantage to it as well. But LeBron looks good. AD looks good. Let's go 4-0, man. Let's get a win
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's keep stacking the wins, Roger. I think that's the best way to kind of end it. Let's keep stacking wins. Another big game against the Suns, and then we have this, or it's the start of a road trip where I think we see like the Cavs, the Raptors. We have a couple tough teams before we eventually start. The schedule is a little bit easier. I think we play Detroit at some point too in these next 5 games. So the Lakers have a road trip coming up. Road trips are also a great test of character to understand how good your
Oh
team
yeah.
really is compared to home cooking. So I'm going to be very curious. It's also probably an opportunity for the younger guys to play because I think it's like Braun mentioned, it's 5 games over 11 days or something like that. So we might see some of the younger legs see the floor a little bit more. But the Lakers are off 3-0. We're learning some things about this team that we love and some things that still kind of need improvement. So we'll be keeping our eyes on all of it. And I'm sure Laker fans will be doing the same as
Yes,
we
sir.
switch between Dodger games and Laker games up until the Dodgers, knock on wood, win their
Yep.
World Series. And we can celebrate that. Rod, did you have anything last before I let the folks go?
I just realized the Lakers and Dodgers played again together. It's the
Yeah.
3rd straight time they played.
Monday, we got 2 games. We're going to be watching it.
Man, what scheduling gods have just absolutely, hit this one.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever happened before, has it? I mean,
Yeah.
the 3
And
straight.
both games are on the road, so that's kind of funny too, as well.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both games against Phoenix. This is weird, man. It's really strange.
Yeah.
Against the
Yeah.
same
So
team.
it'll be interesting to see, but good luck to the Dodgers, and good luck to the Lakers. Stay in good health and continue our winning ways. But as always, folks, if you're able to join us at the start or midway through and you want to run this back, You can always go to the Lakers detailed account and play it back, or my account or Raj's account. You can do that, or you can wait till tomorrow morning and it'll be uploaded into your Apple and Spotify feeds at Lakers Detailed. We appreciate you. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and listen in on us talk about Lakers basketball. So wherever you are, during the day, during the evening, we hope you have a very good one. And we hope you have a wonderful day. And we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.